The C-Series rack mount servers, you know them, you love them. We've had nuggets dealing with them so far in this course, but it's time to integrate them into the UCS system right alongside our B-Series devices and manage them all thanks to the magic of UCS Manager and Service Profiles. Let's kick it off. Now, probably the first question you have here is what models of C-Series can you do this with? And I really want you to check the documentation. I'm intentionally not telling you here because that list is constantly going to change, right? It's constantly going to be updated for new models of C-Series devices that can indeed be integrated into the UCS system. Why are we so excited about this? Well, we love a central point of management, don't we? Yeah, sure. When you're running a huge data center, you want to be able to go into the Unified Computing System Manager, that one graphical user interface, and take care of the management tasks that are in front of you. We also start to really get addicted to the power of service profiles in our UCS system, and we can't take advantage of those with the C-Series unless we integrate them, as we'll see in this particular nugget. Notice, when we do this integration, we're no longer able to go to the C-Series and leverage the Cisco Integrated Management Controller for management of that particular rack server. And at this point, you may say, Anthony, why in the world would I even want to attempt to access the Cisco Integrated Management Controller when the whole point was to avoid that? And I say to you, very good. Yeah, absolutely. This is not a big deal, this limitation. It is just we are trading one form of management for another, so it's no big surprise. Now, please keep in mind the particular version of UCS Manager and the UCS system that you're implementing is going to require a particular version of firmware be installed on your C-Series rack mount server. Again, in this nugget, I'm intentionally not giving you version information because all of that is subject to change, and I want you to look up in the documentation exactly what version of firmware that you might need. Suffice it to say, by the way, if you're on the very latest version of the UCS and you're on the very latest version of your firmware for the C-Series rack mount server, in particularly the Cisco Integrated Management Controller firmware, then you're gonna be just fine. Please keep in mind we need 10 gigabit per second connectivity in the C-Series rack mount server, which you probably have already. We need either a 10 gig converged network adapter, we need a 10 gig virtual interface card, we need a 10 gigabit Ethernet adapter. I don't care what specifically it is, as long as we're equipped with 10 gigabit per second connectivity. Finally, I need to emphasize here in this intro to C-Series integration, I really need to emphasize that we utilize two separate links, one for management traffic and one for data traffic. And sure enough, fiber channel over Ethernet would be considered part of that data traffic. So this is pretty humorous. We may have to go up, and this is review for you, but it's just really worth mentioning here because it's counterintuitive. We have to go up and potentially upgrade our firmware on the C-Series rack mount server. And to do this, you're going to go after the standalone software category. Yeah, even though we're wanting to integrate this into the UCS to initially do our upgrade, we got to attack the standalone firmware upgrade. So remember where that would be: support all downloads. And this is going to bring us to this convenient interface that we're used to. We're going to say servers unified computing, and we're going to say C-Series rack mount standalone server software, find our particular model, and then go in and potentially update that server firmware if we need to in order to then carry out our integration. Now, while we're here, let me review with you where you would grab the documentation. Remember, I'm going to push you to the documentation for certain aspects of this integration. In fact, the specifics about how you're going to cable the C-Series into your UCS infrastructure, I want you to consult the latest documentation from Cisco for obvious reasons. We couldn't cover the specifics for every single model and every single implementation. I don't want to give you a fish, I want to teach you how to fish, as a wise man once said. So let's go ahead and jump into Cisco.com here once again. This time we'll go to support all products. So we're not looking to download software, we're looking for documentation here. And what's great is we are presented with this familiar interface as a starting point. So we're going to go products, we're going to go servers unified computing, we're going to go in and we're going to say not C-Series rack mount standalone software this time, but we're going to go UCS C-Series rack mount UCS managed server software. We're going to come in here and we're going to go to our configuration guides. Let's say we're dealing with UCS Manager 2.1, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're on that version. And we're going to come in and we are going to download this complete book, really, in either the EPUB or the PDF format. And we are going to be guided through things like cabling in that dual wire management, outlay that I mentioned to you is what we would want to do, where we are using the shared LAN on motherboard ports. We're having a separate cable for data traffic, a separate cable for management traffic. Notice how we are going to be walked through the exact requirements that we need. In fact, let's quickly run through that. A Cisco UCS system running UCS Manager Software 2.1, no big surprise there. Any of the UCS C-Series servers that correspond to the UCS Manager release, and they tell us, look, certain virtual interface cards are going to be able to be integrated in this particular format. 2 UCS 6100 series or 6200 series fabric interconnects, 2 Cisco Nexus 2232 PP FEXs. Okay, so this is going to require the 2232 fabric extender, right? One of the many things we refer to as FEX, confusingly enough, in the UCS system. 2 RJ45 Ethernet cables, 4 10 gig small form factor pluggable cables. So it's going to walk you through step by step, whether we're in a clustered or a non-clustered setup of this configuration. So, very important that we upgrade our firmware using Cisco.com, and very important that we grab the appropriate documentation for the setup of the hardware and the setup of the cabling. Well, with that important information out of the way, now we turn to the UCS Manager. How are these standalone C-Series devices discovered? Well, think about your B-Series blades for a moment. Do you remember? It may seem like long ago that we discussed this, but we slide over to the Equipment tab, and under Global Policies, there is a Chassis FEX Discovery Policy. And we talked a lot about this, and we dealt with a final exam review question about this. Well, slide your eyes down just a little bit, and there it is, our rack server discovery policy. Do we want this to take place immediately when we connect these C-Series devices into our data center? Or do we want to go out there and acknowledge these particular server blades that we want discovered by this global policy? We also can set the appropriate scrub policy. And you know what the scrub policy has to deal with. That is, are we going to be resetting and erasing components of these C-Series when they are no longer part of our UCS system? So we want to provision this appropriate server discovery policy here in our global policies area. And at this point, you are probably thinking, why can't all data center nuggets be this simple, right? Yeah, this was very simple and straightforward for us. It will not, I repeat, it will not be a big area of emphasis in your certification environment, but let's just do a quick review thanks to Final Exam Time. I really got to work on that Final Exam Time theme song. Maybe for the last nugget coming up. What statement regarding C-Series integration in the UCS is not true? Okay, read carefully. That's first task here. One of these is not going to be true. So we'll eliminate any true statement. The firmware must be at a certain version. That's absolutely true. So it can't be our answer. There is a separate management and data link. Absolutely true. That can't be correct answer here. The C-Series must be manually entered into UCS? Oh, wait a minute. We were just looking at the ability to do an automated discovery of these gadgets. So let me check D. The CICM, the Cisco Integrated Management Controller, whoops, that would be CIMC MC, Cisco Integrated Management Controller. And you got to watch out for typos like that, of course, in the exam environment. That's no longer used. Yeah, that's a true statement. So our statement that is not true is the C series must be manually entered into UCS. We absolutely know that's not true thanks to our knowledge of the discovery policy and the option to not use that automated discovery, and we can manually enter, if you will, the manually acknowledge would be a better way to say it, the particular C series. But that's just an option. The most common way would be to automate the discovery of those C series. Now, by the way, we're truly not worried about the typo, are we? Yeah, we're truly not worried about that typo. We know that there is an obviously false statement, and in an exam environment, we wouldn't, again, be too uptight about the fact that, there's a typo in the D response. Does that make it false? No, no, because we found a statement that is really, truly false. Okay, so I really hope that this nugget has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.